South Korean startup Space fails on its first orbital launch attempt. Welcome back to Astrox Radio. This is episode 9, and I'm glad to have you here. We're going to be covering a lot of things today, including the first headline topic, which is the Space failure. Then we'll do some Beetle robot stuff discussion. So Beetle robot is a robotic dog I have. Then we'll have space news summarized from various websites like space.com, spacenews.com, etc. Then I'll summarize some upcoming shorts I'm going to have, which are going to be epic. Then in section 2, we're going to have our second headline topic of the day, which is the Japanese H3 rocket fails during launch of navigation satellite. Then I'll talk about my subreddit a little bit, what's been happening. And we're going to have our first educational section, which I'm going to try and explain to all of you for black holes for new space enthusiasts. So if you're new to the space world, I want to explain what are black holes, what's dangerous about them, what we can do with them, how we discover them, when we discover them, etc. And then we'll finally finish off with some PicoCalc stuff. So we got a lot to do today, so let's jump right in. Space tried to make history on Monday night, which is December 22nd, but it didn't work out. The company launched its Hanbit Nano rocket from a space center in Brazil called sorry for wrong pronunciation, but Alcantara Space Center on Monday at 8:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 10:13 p.m. local time in Brazil and 1:13 a.m. GMT on December 23rd. This is the first ever orbital launch attempt by a South Korean company, and as often happens on debut liftoffs, something went wrong. The 57-foot tall, with 17.3 meters rocket, came crashing down back to Earth after a minute after liftoff, according to Space Orbit, which was following the launch. It's unclear at this stage what caused the failure, as it's quite early, but Space did not immediately provide an update on X or Twitter, and the company cut off its webcast in wake of the incident shortly after announcing that an anomaly had occurred. Hanbit Nano is a two-stage rocket whose first stage burns liquid oxygen, so LOX, and paraffin. The upper stage comes in two configurations. One burns liquid oxygen and paraffin, while the other employs liquid oxygen and liquid methane. The rocket is designed to deliver up to 198 pounds of payload into a sun-synchronous orbit from Brazil. On debut launch, the Hanbit Nano was carrying 5 small satellites for customers from Brazil and India, as well as 3 additional technology demonstrating payloads. The company Space was founded in 2017. The company, which currently employs about 260 people, has developed all of its launch technology in-house. Company CEO Kim Soo-jeon told Space.com in October at the International Aeronautical Congress in Sydney. Space's vision doesn't end with getting Hanbit Nano online. The company is also developing larger, more powerful rockets called Hanbit Micro and Hanbit Mini. Monday's launch was originally scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th, but Space pushed it back several times due to a technical issue and bad weather forecasts. So I'm kind of aspiring for this rocket to get successful, because the more companies we have in the space industry, the better it will be. As how do I explain this? But there'll be more competition. There won't just be a one-dominated aerospace company like SpaceX, let's say. They won't just be dominating the launch market. We want some competition, which makes it all equal, can also drive up prices of cost per kilogram. There'll always be a cheap option. So, as the headline topic, that wasn't very long, but there's not much to say about a kind of new company without many news. So we're going to go first quickly talk about this Indian rocket launches record-breaking Bluebird 6 smartphone satellite to orbit. Bluebird 6's communications array will be the largest ever unfurled in low Earth orbit. Bluebird 6 is built by a Texas company, AST Space Mobile, lift off atop an LVM-3 rocket from India's Satish Dhawan Space Center on Tuesday at 10:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 8:55 a.m. Indian Standard Time on December 24th. The LVM-3 deployed Bluebird 6 about 324 miles, which is 521 kilometers, above Earth 15.5 minutes after launch as planned. Just saying, I made a little short about this launch on my YouTube channel. It's not the most hard work short I worked on, but because I didn't have much time. But please watch it. And I also put this article on my subreddit, so check out my subreddit. AST Space Mobile is building a constellation of satellites in low Earth orbit that be in broadband service directly to standard smartphones on the ground. The company has now launched 6 operational satellites into orbit, 5 of them aboard a single SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket in September 2024. Those previous spacecraft, Bluebirds 1 through 5, feature 693 square foot, which is 64.4 square meters, communication arrays, the largest ever unfurled in low Earth orbit. Bluebird 6 will break that record by a healthy margin. This is the first of AST Space Mobile's next generation Bluebirds, whose arrays cover nearly 2,400 square feet apiece. Tuesday's liftoff was the 9th overall for the free stage, 143 foot tall LVM-3, which is 43.5 meters, which is India's most powerful rocket. It debuted in December 2014 and has a 100% success rate to date. Bluebird 6, which tips the scales around 6,100 kilograms, was the heaviest payload that LVM-3 ever hauled to low Earth orbit, according to ISRO. So go ISRO, go Hanbit Nano, well, which is inner space. Now let's talk about my Beetle robot. So do you know in the past episodes I've been talking about how I've had issues with my Beetle robot dog? Yes, okay. How I've had issues with calibrating the servos so they're all in like calibrated positions, so when it walks it doesn't spaz out. So I finally got it calibrated. I've got it connected to the mobile app, and I can walk, backflip it even, jump, I don't know, stand, sit, crawl, say hello. It can do so many things. I'm so glad I made it working, and I guess now I just need to use Pi Serial, or I need to use Arduino IDE to code in C to make some kind of code that can get it closer and closer to my end goal with the Beetle robot. My end goal with the Beetle robot is to have it acting like a realistic dog. Let's say if you have a pet dog at home, that's the kind of thing I want my Beetle robot to act like. It'll come to you, be like affectionate. It'll have good movement, like smooth walking. It'll be kind of quiet, and then it'll even say like hello. And I want the battery life to be at least 6 hours, and I want it to automatically plug itself in once its battery like percentage goes below around 20%. So that's my end goal. But before I do that, I need to first get used to the Beetle robot, and I need to finish my other goals, including the one getting better at chess. I am okay at chess, but I really do want to get better at it. So if you are interested in robot dogs like Beetle, or you want like a robot cat, which is okay, but the Beetle is better, go to Petoy's website. Like there's a company called PETOI, so Petoy, and they have the Beetle and the Nibble. Beetle is a robot dog and Nibble is the robotic cat. But the Nibble is made of like cardboard or like flimsy wood. Beetle is made of full high quality plastic, which I currently have. So go check it out. Okay, now let's do some space news summarized from various websites. Russia patents space station designed to generate artificial gravity. According to the patent, habitable modules would rotate around a central axis to simulate gravity for crew by producing an outward pushing centrifugal force. Russian state-owned Energia rocket company has secured a patent for a novel spacecraft architecture design to generate artificial gravity, a capability which could provide a huge boost for long-duration crewed missions. A report from Russian state media outlet TASS, which obtained the patent, states that the rotating system is designed to generate a gravitational force of about half of what Earth has. And the patent documentation includes illustrations of a notional space station structure with a central axis module and both static and rotating components, with modules and habitats connected by a hermetically sealed flexible junction. The radially attached habitable modules would be rotated around this axis to simulate gravity for the crew by producing an outward pushing centrifugal force. These would need to rotate about 5 revolutions per minute and have a radius of about 40 meters in order to produce half a G. A space station of that size would require multiple launches, with each module that would have to be assembled in orbit. Unless we get like really, really large rockets, which you know how many years that would probably take. The documentation notes the disadvantage of the need for spinning and coordinating the rotation of transport ships to dock with the station, which it notes reduces the safety of such a station. Generating artificial gravity could have profound impacts for crews on long-duration space missions, whether in low Earth orbit or on interplanetary voyages into deep space, such as to Mars or other planets, or even in the future to Alpha Centauri. Exposure to microgravity has numerous impacts on astronauts, including muscle atrophy and bone density loss. I don't see why they can patent this, but I think it's only a Russian only patent. There's not much information about that. But NASA has produced concepts such as the rotating wheel space station concept, which is Nautilus X, while more recently, commercial firm Vast Space has said it will pursue artificial gravity stations. Russia did not indicate timelines for such a project, nor resources to back its development. The patent does, however, indicate interest in the concept of artificial gravity at a time when the end of the International Space Station is approaching, and the new national and commercial station plans are moving forward. Currently, NASA and Roscosmos plan to deorbit the ISS in 2030, using a modified SpaceX Dragon capsule to push the station down into a fiery death over the Pacific Ocean. Russia has committed to stay aboard the International Space Station until 2028. Interesting story. Interesting. That was from space.com, by the way. So if you want to see the full article, which is basically what I read out and summarized a bits of it, go check it out. Long March 12A reaches orbit in first reusable launch attempt, but landing fails. A first launch of the Long March 12A Chinese state-owned reusable rocket reached orbit late Monday, but attempted recovery of the first stage downrange had failed. The Long March 12A rocket lifted off at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on December 22nd from a dedicated pad at Jinquan's spaceport Dongfeng Commercial Space Innovation Test Zone. Long name, I know, right? Amateur footage of the launch quickly appeared on Chinese social media. The first stage was expected to perform a re-entry burn after separation and target a landing pad at a pad located around 250 kilometers downrange in Minqin Country, Gansu Province. Apparent images and satellite images shared on social media suggested that the landing was unsuccessful, potentially landing around 2 kilometers away from the pad. Initial reports suggested the rocket had reached orbit, but official confirmation from China's space authorities did not follow until more than 2 hours after launch. Despite the failed landing attempt, SAST said it obtained crucial engineering data on the actual flight conditions, laying an important foundation for subsequent launches and reliable stage recovery. According to a state-affiliated report, a comprehensive review and technical reassessment will follow. Just as I said before, more competition in the space market is better, and especially from separate countries like United States, China, Russia, India, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, I don't know, every country, as many as countries we can get. So I have a lot of upcoming shorts that are going to be epic. The first one will be what makes the two Voyager probes different. Like, there's a lot of differences between them, even though they're identical probes, like the trajectory, etc. But more about that in the short. No, I'm not gonna review too much, guys. And then I'll have a short about all you need to know about the Soviet Venus probes. Those are the only probes that have successfully landed on the surface of Venus. And then how SpaceX's grid fins work. Whole short about that. Just a deep dive into those little waffle maker shaped things. Then I'll talk about what was Project Orion, which was an ambitious project, but you probably don't know it because it's not a successful project. Then I'll have a kind of a debunking short, but not really, about why slingshotting rockets into space won't work. And then I'll have one about how spacecraft docking is done with precision. And then we'll talk about what are ablative heat shields and how do they work. So there's a lot of nice shorts coming up, and really excited for all of you to see them and for me to make them, because just keep in mind I actually like making these YouTube shorts and these podcasts. I just hope more people will watch them, guys. So Let's move on to section 2, where we'll be doing our second headline topic of Japanese H3 rocket fails during launch of navigation satellite. So see you there. So if you're still here listening, thank you. Before we continue on to section 2, because Astrox Radio is completely free of charge to you, can you support us by subscribing to the Astrox YouTube channel? And also, if you're listening on another platform, to follow the podcast. I really appreciate your support. And now, let's continue on to section 2. Okay, we're back after the break with section 2 of the podcast. Japanese H3 rocket fails during launch of navigation satellite. This is the second headline topic, even though the first one wasn't really a headline topic, but it was kind of interesting. So let's deep dive in. The 7th ever mission of Japanese H3 rocket did not go according to plan. The H3 launched from Tanegashima Space Center, sorry for bad pronunciation, on Sunday, December 21st at 8:51 p.m. EST, carrying a navigation satellite known as Michibiki 5 or QZS-5 aloft. Quoted, however, the second stage engine's second ignition failed to start normally and shut down prematurely, which officials with the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency said in a statement early Monday morning. They also said, as a result, QZS-5 could not be put into the planned orbit and the launch failed. The 4,800 kilogram Michibiki 5 satellite was supposed to be part of Japanese homegrown Keisai Zenith satellite system. This is really hard to say all this. A navigation network in geosynchronous orbit high above Earth. Quoted, the system is compatible with GPS satellites and can be utilized with them in an integrated fashion, which Japanese officials had wrote in a description of the QZSS project. Another quote is the QZSW can be used even in the Asia-Oceania regions with longitudes close to Japan, so its usage will be expanded to other countries in these regions as well, which they added. The first satellite, a Pathfinder, launched in September 2010. Wait, what? Okay. The system currently consists of 4 operational spacecraft, but Japan wants it to grow, as Sunday's unsuccessful launch shows that indeed the network will eventually consist of 11 spacecraft, if all goes according to plan. The 2-stage H3 rocket was developed by JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. It's a successor to the H2A, a workhouse launcher that retired in June after a quarter-century of orbital service. The H3 failed during its debut launch in March 2023, but bounced back with 5 consecutive successes until Sunday night. JAXA has set up a task force headed by Agency Chief Hiroshi Yamakawa to help get to the bottom of the Michibiki 5 launch anomaly. Quoted, we would like to express our deepest apology to many people and entities, particularly those related to the QZS-5 and local organizations and the public who had high expectations for this project, which JAXA officials wrote in Monday morning's update. I actually watched this launch and the launch I was talking about before from Inner Space, the Hanbit Nano launch. Both of them were interesting, but this one was more interesting because of the aim of this launch and because it was a debut launch of the Hanbit Nano. I knew it probably was going to be doomed, not being rude to Inner Space. There's nothing against them. Why are the headline topics today so short, guys? I have no idea. So I got some not very funny space jokes, guys, to tell you. Why did the cow go to outer space? To visit the Milky Way. You get it? Cow, you know. What do planets like to read? Comic books. You see comic books and comic books? Yeah, please laugh, guys, come on. Okay, up next, I'm going to talk about my subreddit. So I have a subreddit called r/Astroxia_SRT, spelled out as R and then /ASTROXIA capital S, capital R, capital T. That's my subreddit. And it stands for Astrox, which is my YouTube channel, and then ER, so like India, country, Astroxia, you get it? So it's like a full, everyone like fans of Astrox and all that there. And then SRT stands for Space Rockets Tech. I created it maybe, how long was it? 2 months ago? Currently, there's only be a singular post from someone that's not me. So like, and then the rest of the posts are just me. There's like space news, rocket news, I don't know, my old operating systems updates. Oh wait, I just gave something away, but it doesn't matter. I'll talk about that later anyways. And all of that. So you can post on there, you can join it. Please, we only have like 11 or 12 members. Let me just check really quick. Okay, yeah, we have 13 members. 13 members and 72 visitors per week. And there's not much that happens. The only post that's from someone that's not me is, where is it? From a guy called CZARBEN, so Xarben, which he posted a link from NASA Science, which is about reflected solar instrument, which is introducing HI-6. And I don't know if he's still part of the subreddit. I hope he is. So thanks for joining him if he's listening, which I hope he is. And I hope you guys also join. Okay, quick update to anyone who's listening. My ISRO launch Bluebird YouTube short highlights YouTube short got blocked globally. So if you were going to watch it, I'm really sorry. No, at time of recording, it got blocked globally, so I had to delete it. But nothing affects my channel from that, so that's what I'm glad about. Now, let's go to the educational section, talking about black holes for new space enthusiasts and not new space enthusiasts. Okay, so when most people hear black hole, they think of something kind of like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, just sucking everything up, never to be seen again. But as cool as that sounds, there's way more to it. Black holes are actually some of the most extreme and mysterious things in the universe, and I promise, by the end of this section, you'll be obsessed with them as I am. So let's start with the basics. So what exactly is a black hole? Well, it's a region in space where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape from it. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. That includes light, radio waves, or even particles. Anything that crosses a certain boundary called the event horizon is gone for good. This is why we call them black. They literally absorb all the light that hits them, making them invisible to the human eye. Now you might be wondering, where do these things come from? Wait, no, how do these things form? Yeah, that makes more sense. Black holes don't just appear out of nowhere. They're the result of the death of massive stars. When a star runs out of fuel, it can no longer fight against the pull of its own gravity. Eventually, the star collapses in on itself, and if it's big enough, it forms a black hole. Think of it like a giant star taking the ultimate dive into itself. But not all black holes are the same. There are a few different types. The most well-known is a stellar black hole, which forms when a massive star dies, as I said before. These can be anywhere from a few times the mass of our sun to around 20 or 30 times heavier. There are supermassive black holes, which are way larger. These can be found at the centers of almost every galaxy, including our own Milky Way. They can be millions or even billions of times the mass of our sun. Just imagine that for a second. A black hole that's billions of times heavier than our sun. Kinda crazy, right? Okay, so why should we care about black holes? Beyond their obvious mystery factor, they actually play a huge role in the structure of the universe. The gravity from a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy can affect the orbits of stars and even determine the shape of the entire galaxy. Without these giant black holes, galaxies might not look or behave the way they do. One thing that still blows my mind about black holes is the concept of space-time. Black holes don't just bend space, they bend time as well. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, the closer you get to a black hole, the slower the time moves. If you're somehow able to stand near a black hole, time would appear to move faster for people far away from it. It's like a weird cosmic time travel effect. The closer you get to the event horizon, the slower time takes. In fact, if you could somehow fall into the black hole, time would stretch out like you were in a weird sci-fi movie. But don't worry about that. It's definitely not something you should try at home, even if you could. Speaking of the event horizon, that's the point of no return. Once you cross that line, you're done for. But here's the thing, no one really knows what happens inside a black hole. We can't see it, and any information that crosses the event horizon seems to get lost. It's like a one-way trip to the unknown. Some scientists think there could be a singularity at the center, which is a point where gravity is infinite and space-time itself breaks down. It's a mind-bending idea, but we just don't have enough tech to really know. Now you might be thinking, wait, if we can't see black holes, how do we even know they exist? Great question. Black holes don't emit light, but we can detect their presence by how they affect nearby stars or gas clouds. In fact, in 2019, scientists made history when they captured the first ever image of a black hole's event horizon. They use something called the Event Horizon Telescope, which isn't just one telescope, but a network of telescopes around the world working together. This image had showed the shadow of a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy called M87. It was a huge deal because it confirmed so many theories that scientists had been working on for decades. So to wrap this section up, black holes are still one of the most exciting areas of research in space science. From bending time and space to the way they shape galaxies, there's still so much more we don't understand. Every new discovery only raises more questions, but that's what makes science so cool. The more we learn, the more mysteries we uncover. So next time I guess that you guys look up to this night sky, just remember, there could be a black hole out there, somewhere, bending time and space in ways we just can't even begin to fully understand. So until the next educational section, keep wondering, keep exploring, and as always, keep answering questions. I hope you liked this educational section of Astrox Radio as much as I did, because I feel like the more you know, the better, in most cases. Now let me go into a deep dive of PicoCalc stuff. The PicoCalc is a handheld computer by Clockwork Pi. I don't want to repeat the same sentence over podcasts because repeat listeners. So if you want to know more about it, just search PicoCalc and then Clockwork Pi in one search and you'll get to know more about it. So I was making an operating system, Astrolixy OS, before. I released version alpha and beta for Pico 2W core. And now for version ultra, which I was planning on doing, I just gave up. I have to tell you guys, I just give up. I can't do it anymore. Like, it just takes too much time, learning, and effort for what you really get out of it. So I decided to use CalcuLinux, which is a Linux distro for the PicoCalc. And currently I just want to make lots and lots of apps for it to improve the experience of any other CalcuLinux user and to make CalcuLinux more popular as a PicoCalc distro. And it is a really amazing distro. Like, hats off to the people who ported it to the PicoCalc or made it for the PicoCalc. And it's part of the Yocto project, so it's kind of easy for them, but not as easy as you think. It's still really hard. So thanks to them. And then later on, I currently have already forked the repository for CalcuLinux, but then I want to make some bug fixes, make it exclusive to portable handheld computers, make some code that secretly only allows portable handheld computers to use CalcuLinux, and then add more features, etc. I don't know what I can do, but I want to help CalcuLinux in any way I can, even if it means going really low level, but without needing to learn too much, because all of the low level stuff is already built right there for me. There's not much else I've done with my PicoCalc. I want to get a Wi-Fi adapter for my Luckfox Lyra, but I've asked on the Clockwork Pi forums, and the audio options are soldering. I know there must be a way to do it without soldering, because I don't know how to solder, sadly. And yeah, we need to find a way. So to summarize what we've done in this episode, we first had the first headline topic of this episode, which is South Korean startup InnoSpace had failed on its first orbital launch attempt. Very sad, and I want more competition. Then we had talked about my Biru robotic dog from Pitoy, a lot about it, how I want my end goal, how I finished calibrating it, and stuff like that. Then we summarized space news from various websites like space.com and spacenews.com. I talked about my upcoming shorts, which has a lot of good ones. Then in section 2, we did the second headline topic of the day about the Japanese H3 rocket fails during launch of the navigation satellite. Then I talked about my subreddit, how there's not many people actually posting other than one person and me, and that other person only posted once. I posted the other 15 times, so please join. Then I did my first educational section ever on Astrox Radio, which is talking about black holes for new space enthusiasts and current space enthusiasts who just want a refresher or want to learn about black holes. And finally, recently, we just talked about the PicoCalc and how I quit my operating system, which I was talked about in the last episode, and how I want to work on CalcuLinux itself and apps for CalcuLinux. So I'm really glad you are still listening right now if you are. Thank you for listening to Astrox Radio. Subscribe to me on YouTube, join my subreddit r/astroxia_srt, and follow me wherever you get your podcast. Enjoy!